Hey guys, this is Lewis. I wanted to give you a quick run through what we're doing today, since it's fairly complicated. We're going to create the base plate for the telescope in Fusion 360. Fusion is a drafting package similar to SketchUp, which we used the other week, but far superior for a whole bunch of reasons, which I hope you will be able to see this week. I wanted to give you a walkthrough since there's so many steps. There's an accompanying document called Fikon Maricel, and it has, let me just look to the back. I think it has something on the order of 34 major steps. So easily 200 minor steps within those things. Sounds like a lot, but you'll get the hang of it. I think it'll go much faster than that sounds. So we're starting formally on step 11 over here, but obviously when you follow the thing, you will follow the entire document. So there's lots of different environments in Fusion. We're picking the modeling environment. You're probably going to be in the sculpt environment the very first time you get in. So just pick an environment, pick model. The next thing we want to do is we're creating a sketch. A sketch is a representation of a geometry that you're going to draw down and then manipulate. So I'm click Sketch menu item, then Create Sketch. Then you're given a bunch of planes. It's basically, what are you going to draw on? Are you going to draw on this XY plane? That's that looking down from the top, or the side plane, whatever. I'm going to click on the XY plane, and then we're drawing in millimeters, and the last time I used it, so it was set up to use millimeters, but you may need to click on this little button here, pick the unit type of millimeter, and then click OK. I've already clicked it, so I don't need to. Then I'm going to create a polygon, which is a circumscribed polygon. That means that it is within a circle centered upon a point. So I click on circumscribed polygon, I hover over the origin, basically the center point of the plane you selected, click down, and then drag out until it's roughly around 60 millimeter radius. We want 120 millimeter diameter. So I put in 60, and you notice it says 6 for sides over here. I don't know if yours will be. You may need to change that to 6. But make it 60 millimeter and 6. And notice that the top vertex isn't quite on the green line. I did that on purpose. As a general rule, even though I want it to be pointing up and down, it's better to bring those geometries into shape by using constraints and measurements instead of just hoping that you hit the line correctly. So press enter, and that's going to save my changes, and then you have a sketch here. And then I'm going to click on in this sketch palette, which should have come up automatically. I'm going to click on horizontal vertical, click at that center point, and then click at that topmost vertex. And that's going to ensure that this polygon is going to be oriented the way I want to do it. Press the escape key to get out of the horizontal vertical mode. Let's say I want to grab this vertex over here, and I could stretch the thing in size, right? I'm going to press Control Z to get back to where I was. But even though I try to move my mouse to change it from horizontal to vertical, it didn't happen. So the next thing I want to do is I want to constrain this thing to be 120 millimeters across. So I press the D key and I click on that point, basically the joining of the two top left vertexes, and that point, the top right, and then I drag up, and then I click down, and I put in 120, and now this thing is locked into where it should be. The cursor should be a regular cursor. If it hasn't, press escape key, always gets back to a regular cursor. If you try to drag things from the points or the sides or anything, it's going to be in place. Let's talk a little navigation while we're at it. You can do the scroll wheel to come in and out. You can click down with your left mouse button to see, pieces, right? Although I don't think you're going to need to do this until we're further along, so I'll mention it again. You can press on your central mouse button to drag the entire screen around. And you notice there was a hand here. You could have clicked on hand and used hand instead. When you're done with it, press the escape keys to get out of pan mode. And the similar thing is once we have a body is something that you've drawn that has shape and depth, we can actually rotate the thing through the plane. So you can actually click on orbit now and move the thing anyway, but it has no depth, right? So it isn't doing anything very useful. So I'm going to press escape. And then you notice there was this cube in the upper right hand corner which showed top and front, and you can pick any number of things. Now I happen to pick front, and it's totally flat, so you don't see anything. But if you hover over here, you can get back to the home, and then what we wanted was top, right? And then it zoomed too much, so I'm going to scroll my wheel and then click down to drag it to the center. So hold on a second, let me just look at the page. I think the next thing we want to do is draw a bunch of lines, right? So we're going to draw what's going to be construction lines. We're going to press the L key. There are lots of hotkeys for doing lines and circles and so forth. If you look, for instance, under Sketch, anytime you have an L or a T for trim or an O for offset or D for dimension, that is a hotkey. So we're going to draw, and you notice also there is a little icon on the bottom of your cursor. In this case, it is showing that's a line. So we're going to draw a line from clicking in that upper left-hand corner, and you notice that it has this snap box. Do you see this? So it gets a line, click there, oops. So I'm going to, that was my mistake. Very often you're in a mode you shouldn't be in, because I was showing you things, I wasn't in the correct thing. So I pressed Control Z to get backwards. I'm going to go now, my cursor is regular, I'm pressing line. Now I can select that point, and I select another point, and line is drawn. I can move my cursor around, it's still in the same mode. I go to this point, click down, go to that point, click down, and then do it again for up here and here. So I've drawn 3 lines. Now I don't need any more right now, so I'm going to press the escape key, get back to select mode. Now we'll select each of the 3 lines by turns, and then press the X key. And now I'm creating what's called a construction line. A construction line helps you do things like measurements and position things, but it isn't part of the model itself. So now I have 3 construction lines. I've basically broken it up into 6 slices. And so I now want to draw a bunch of parallel lines to these, because I need them for the object that I am making. And I guess I should show you the object, give you a sense. Previously, I have brought in the original things that this is based upon. This came from another project by this guy named Bubak. I don't know his full name. That's his handle on the internet. And he created a mirror cell, and that's basically we're copying what he's doing. So we're doing the support plate. So I'll open the support plate here in another sketch, and obviously we could take this and just use it, but the idea is we want to learn how to do drafting ourselves. So it's interesting. Click on orbit, and then you can look at all sorts of things. Notice it's a hexagon, but the corners are cut off, 3 of them. You have holes that are going straight through on 3 of the corners, not 6. You have holes that go through in the center near the, oops, let me see if I can do it. Yeah, the center. And on the bottom over here, you notice has a hex screw in it. And then you have these bigger holes further out that go all the way through. And then in the center, it's not quite a hexagon. It has this weird, wacky sort of shape. And you notice we have these thick areas where we have either a set of holes or just another thick area where there's a hole that goes straight through, as opposed to these set of holes that go through the top. So anyway, this is what we're trying to build. And let's go back to our drawing. We want to do those thick pathways. So we're going to get back into line mode, click line, and then click over here and put down a point. And then even though we want these things to be sort of parallel, we don't want them to accidentally snap into the wrong spot. So we do them distinctly off kilter, and we're going to bring them in through constraints. Make sure you don't get it snapping here in the center. You see there's that little triangle that it's automatically assuming it's a midpoint. Do something in the middle where it doesn't have any other pop-up things. Same for the vertical stuff. Pull that down, and then same for this one. Oops, I missed. You see I missed? I didn't hit the line, so Control Z twice to get me out of there. And unfortunately, it takes me out of line mode, so press L to get back into line mode. And then snap into there, and there, snap into here. So now you have these lines, but they're all sort of wacky, right? So I want to firstly make this a little bigger and drag this to the center of the screen, just make it easier. So the first thing I want to do is have this line be parallel to that line, and same for this line be a parallel to this. So we click on our parallel constraint, then click on the center, and the line we want to make parallel. Click on the center, make the line we want to be parallel. So repeat this for the other two sets of lines, and then for this. So now we have parallel lines, but as you can see, they're not evenly spaced or what we want them to be. So one of the most important commands we use is called the dimension command, D for dimension. So click on D and click over here on this lower line, click on this center construction line, and then pull down. And notice that it says some number 15, something or another. Click on that and type 10, because we want these to be 10 away. And then do the exact same thing. Press the D key, click on the center line, doesn't matter the order you do the lines, and make this 10. Okay, you can move the actual dimension by clicking on the number and dragging it, as well as the line itself. So pretty up your thing. So I'm going to click here. I'm hoping there's a thing called aligned, which is it's automatically doing it for me. If you think about it, it's pretty easy when you do a dimension from here to here. It knows which direction you want to show the dimensional lines, but it could just as easily show it from here to there. For whatever reason, it's not showing the miss setup thing, which would allow me to show you the line menu, but I'll hopefully get to do that at some point. So I'm going to go D, click there, click there. Oops. Oh, look at that. So you see, that basically did the right thing. So I'm going to go D for here. Oops. Press escape all the way. Again, you have to be careful of what you're selecting, or you might end up doing the wrong thing. So I'm going to try it over here. I'm going to go get D for dimension, click there, and that is in line. I'm going to just press escape. Let's try this one more time. Maybe we'll get the thing to do what we want it to. I'm trying it to not be so smart, basically. Click there, click there. Yeah, I'm just not doing it for me. It's too smart. But pull the dimensions wherever you want them to be and drag the actual dimensions so it makes sense to you. So, and we'll do one more down there. So this is one of those activities. I press D again to enter dimension mode and 10. So this is one of those activities you do all the time, when you want to constrain various pieces of geometry to be whatever you're looking for. So this actually works incredibly fast if you were not explaining it. It took a lot more than I thought. So we're going to draw 3 more hexagons, much like we did before, except they're going to have 50 millimeter, 40 millimeter, and 30 millimeter radiuses. So we're going to draw them from the center, a little off kilter, then use constraints and measurements to bring them back into shape. So again, you go to Sketch, Polygon, Circumscribe Polygon, click here. And this one's going to be 50. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to show you a little trick. If you right click on point, you're going to have repeat circumscribe polygon. Then you go back to that center. And then now you can do that one 40. So you don't even have to go back up to the menu. And then repeat circumscribed and click down. And this one is 30. Right? So lots of times if you can group actions together, so much the better. So we're going to go to horizontal, vertical. And we'll just click center and then that vertex and click center and that vertex and click center and that vertex, right? So that was pretty simple. We want to dimension these, so click there, and then that should be 100, and it already is. But you want to have the dimension there, even though it was set to the right thing. D for dimension again, click there, click there. Oops, sorry, press Control Z. Sometimes you hit the wrong line because the scale of the thing, so you have to be careful. So D for dimension. I'm clicking the vertical, and I'm clicking that next one. You notice it says, oops, here's 80. And I'm going to scroll the document so I can get this line out of there. And then D for here, and D for there, and 60. So those are all constrained, and I'm going to just pull these lines out of the way just to get them in a better position. And so let me look at the next thing. So the idea is we've created pieces that we're now going to figure out the geometry, and we could have loosely drawn them. If you look again over here, this is what we want to draw. We want to draw this polygon here and then have it repeat 6 times. And there's lots of different ways to do that, right? You could have created it in free space and then constrained it somehow to where you want to do. Then you could do a circular repeating pattern. We're using the method that we're using right now just to create a high quality geometry, since it's so important for the performance of the telescope to hold the mirror just right. So I'm just looking where I am. Okay, so we're going to trim away a bunch of the lines that we don't need. Let me make sure I'm saying the right thing. Do not remove any of the line segments within the inner hexagon. But if you look at the original support plate thing, you see clearly you don't need anything here, 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 and you don't need anything up over here, right? So if we go here, we go back into our drawing, and this is, I would definitely zoom this as large as you can for whatever your screen size would be, and press T to trim mode, and then you see it's going to highlight a little segment of a line like that. So get rid of that, that, and then also this and this, right? So the thing that we're looking for is this thing over here. So we can get rid of that. Boom, 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 boom. You know, and I hope you could see that we could have created, uh, this lots of different ways, right? There's a lot of flexibility in this stuff. And the way you sketch, the way you figure out how to internalize doing a particular sketch really goes to a combination of style, how you like to work, and what you're trying to achieve. So there is no perfect way, or at least I don't think there is a perfect way for doing these things. So I'm just trying to make sure that I've got everything. We don't need that. We don't need that. I don't think there's anything there. So the things we wanted were these polygons that we have over here, right? And there are 6 of them. So the next thing, I just want to make sure I'm for my instructions. And you can always press Control Z if you get yourself into trouble, and hopefully you won't get yourself in trouble. So next thing is we're going to square off the corners of the top left, top right, and bottom of the inner hexagon. This is a little hard to explain, so I'm going to try to show it to you. And let me see if I even got this right. So I'm going to go top. See how you have this over there? Hold on a sec. Square off corners, top left, top right, and bottom of the. Oh no, I'm sorry. We'll be doing that end in a bit. It is making this. So if you think about it, you have, if you look in over here, right over here, you have this. So we need a line. So press L for line. We're going to go from there to there. And then just let it wait to time out it for whatever reason, or you'd have to press line and go back again, do this to there. And then do the same down over here. So you now squared off the ends, right? We'll go back, and I press escape to get out of that mode and press T to get back into trim. And let's get rid of the extra pieces. Okay, so now you have the basic shape of the inner hexagon. And then you can get rid of everything in the inside now. Not these lines, not the construction lines. Every one of the blue lines you can get rid of in the center. And all the stuff is written down. So, I'm just giving this sort of as a show you, and you can do sort of deal. So don't worry if you think you've missed something. You probably have a general understanding from watching me, and then the documents will make more sense. Great. So I think that is all of the lines internally. And notice you have the flat, and then you have the points lined up for things. And so let me look in the documents. So now we're going to square off the top left, top right, and bottom corners of the hexagon. So this is also one of those more delicate sort of things. We want to figure out how to have something that's going to be, let me get out of trim mode by pressing escape. We want to have something that is 8 millimeters across and perpendicular to this construction line over here, which there's lots of different ways to do it, but the simplest, I think, is go into line mode, put a line down, and don't have it even close to be 8 millimeters, and make sure it's not like snapping to anything other than the segments themselves, right? So I've just made something, it's sort of askew, right? And so now what we're going to do, and let's just do it for all three since we're in line mode. Put something there and put something there. Again, sort of wackadoodle. Now you can press escape to get out of there. And what we're going to want to do is make those lines perpendicular to their respective construction lines. So click on perpendicular, then click on the construction line and click on that. Construction line, click on it. Construction line and click on it. So that's the first step, right? So now what we want these to do is we want them to be exactly 8 millimeters. This is 8 millimeters. And by the way, here's a really great thing to know when you're doing things. Let me zoom in a little bit here by rolling the scroll wheel. I want to press I for inspect. And I want to change the precision to 0 because we want exactly precision. Put a dot there and a dot there. And that says the hole is 10 millimeters. That's interesting. I thought it was 8 millimeters. This is good. I'm doing this. So let me make sure I didn't have like imprecision. You want to be very precise on these things where you're clicking. Yeah, it's 8 millimeters. I must have had like a slant in there, right? The point wasn't going exactly where I went to. So sometimes it's very, very helpful to zoom all the way in because I could have been like there to there, which gives you a longer distance, or could have. So again, 8 millimeters to go. So what we want this thing to be 8 millimeters. So it's pretty easy to do. Go back to our friend D for dimension. Click there, and I'm sorry. Press escape. Go back. Let's do it again. D for that one and that one. And notice that this is not aligned any longer. Remember I told you align? So right click and pick aligned, and now it's going to be, literally in line with what we're doing. And click down, and then type 8 for 8 millimeters. No idea why that's taking so long. And let's do that same exact thing with this and this aligned because you want it to be exactly in the right spot. That's 8 millimeters. There's something wacky about it. I don't know why. I'm a very fast machine, but it doesn't matter. And then we're going to go D for dimension. Get that, pull down, and then when it actually lets me do it, 8 millimeters. Okay? So now that you've done that, you have the divot exactly where you want to do. Zoom in a little bit to corner, press T for trim mode, T for trim mode, and then trim off the corners. So, and you can get rid of the construction line that far. Now, you know what? Don't get rid of the construction line because you notice what it did? It got rid of the dimension. I don't like that. You know, it's okay. It doesn't do anything. That's why it's a construction line there. So zoom in again. Zoom back and then go to your next corner and go back to T for trim mode and trim that. And then, zoom back out, come back in at the bottom, and trim away. So now we have the actual shape of our sketch. I think you have the 6 polygons, you have the central polygon, you have the corners you just created. So now you're done with your sketch. The sketch is sort of like the prototype of what you're trying to create, right? So click stop sketch. Okay, and let's just drag it to the center and zoom into it a little bit. Okay, and so what we want to do is now extrude this. So we're going to click on the home button, and you want to select the sketch you're trying to do. Oh, you see what I just did? See, I have a line there. I don't want that line there, so I'm right-clicking on the sketch, edit the sketch, and then I'm going to go T for trim and get rid of that line, and I can stop the sketch. You're going to do a lot of these things when you're going. You're going to think you got things right and find out you didn't. Like right here is bad and right there is bad. So I'm going to go edit sketch and go back to trim and and those, and then stop sketch. And maybe now it looks exactly right. Great. And remember, I have top mode, and I just want to read this to make sure that I'm telling you the right thing. I'm sorry, I clicked on the home button, which got me in there. So select the part of the sketch you want to extrude by clicking on it. That's this. It's not these holes. You could look at the original support plate for the thing. You'll have to zoom it back out if you left it as I had left it. But anyway, we have selected the part of the sketch we want to extrude, and then we press the E button. And notice there's an up arrow here. You could have entered into distance 20 millimeters, which is what we want to do, or you can just pull. So we're pulling to 20 millimeters. Okay, and click the OK button or press enter. And now you've made your actual object, which is particularly cool. And so the next thing we want to do is we want to put that 8 millimeter hole through here. I think that's the one. So we're going to click on front, right? And so we want to select, this is the face that we're going to do things on. And then there's H for hole. Hole is found under create, but we're just doing it by keystroke. So we click this center part. You'll notice there's like now a white divot in the center. This is literally the exact center of the part of the sketch I picked up, the face, what they call it. And I hover over it and I drop it. Now I don't want I want to have an 8 millimeter diameter, right? Because I'm literally the full face. And then the depth is not going to be 5 millimeters. I think the depth is going to be 40. And there's all sorts of things you can do. Like, for instance, I'm guessing here, and it's going to go to a distance, and we're going to have a hole. So that just made a hole. And if I went and back to the home mode, you'd see, or actually let me click orbit, you see it's a hole through. Now, if there had been from here to out here, there had been a face parallel to this, I could have just done the hole to the face, but I had to go a distance because of knowing sort of where it was and knowing I couldn't go all the way. So I'm going to click back on home, and then we're going to make copies of this holes. So I added the mounting hole. That's step 26, by the way, if you're following. And then I'm inspecting the hole in 3D. I did that. And now I'm going to copy. So what I want to do is click on the Create Patterns circular pattern. Where's pattern? Circular pattern. And then I'm going to click this. See how it highlights it when I go over it? So that's the thing I'm going to do. And then I'm going to go to axis, and I'm going to do the Z axis. And it turns out 3 is the default, but you know, it could be anything. And then you see, now you have, oops, now you have 3 holes perfectly spaced that go through exactly where you want to. So we haven't saved this model. We probably should have been saving this model before. So you notice I am in the originals folder because we looked at it in there. You don't want to be in originals. You want to be in Fikon folder itself. And then we're just going to click on save, and we're going to call this base plate. And it needs to be in the Fikon folder. You could have done it in the Fikon, some other folder or subfolder, but we went in the Fikon, you know, and it's a very good idea to save things, you know. We probably should have saved it sooner. So anyway, that is starting to get fairly close, right? So we need to create the bolt hole. So I'm going to read in step 30 all the steps to do this because this is a little involved. So I'm going to click the bottom view, right? I'm going to click here to get myself to the bottom. And then bottom is upside down. So I'm going to rotate, you know, so the bottom is actually the right thing. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that I can see the thing on the screen by rolling my mouse. Okay. Click on the bottom face of the model to select it. This is really important. And click on sketch, create sketch. You know, you can create a sketch lots of different places. So we're basically going to enter sketch mode, but on the bottom. So notice, and I have no idea why I did it. It turned it upside down. So, so I think I just want to make sure my instructions are telling the right thing. You want to zoom in the top center point since we're doing a bit of detail work here. Yes, so you want to rotate this. I don't include this in the model, but I rotated it and then brought it into center, and then we're going to work in the top center. Okay. We want to draw a construction line from the top vertex of the outer hexagon to the top vertex of the inner hexagon. So this is from here to there. So we go L for line, here to here, and then we press escape, then click on it again, and X to turn it into a construction line. And then draw a point on the construction line. So you click sketch, point, and draw a point. Doesn't matter where it is because we're going to dimension it into place. And then dimension the point such that it is 6.5 millimeters from the top vertex of the inner hexagon. So we're going to go D, here, here, and then 6.5. Okay? And then we want to draw 2 horizontal construction lines to the left or right of the point and make them snap to the centermost lines of the polygons to either side. Now, we're going to, you know, do construction lines. So, you know, as a general rule, you can do what I always like to do, which is don't make it go across straight. I didn't say this, but, you know, make it go a little bit straight, then click on horizontal vertical and click on the lines just to ensure that they're going to be there. And then press escape so you have your selector and click X. So now you have 2 construction lines. Let me just make sure that's right. And I know this is a pain in the butt. It's because of the geometry of everything. Next, we're going to click on Sketch Polygon, Circumscribe Polygon, and draw an 8 millimeter hexagon centered on the point you just drew. And to be clear, I don't remember which direction this thing goes. So I'm going to look at the cell support plate and flip the sucker over. And you see, this is the entire reason why we drew those construction lines, right? Oops. Ah! Wow. It's a little hard to do. I haven't really mastered flipping these things around, to be quite honest. So from here to here is mostly horizontal, but not exactly from that vertex. That's why we had to have a line that went slightly above. So we're going to create, come back here, go to Sketch, go to Polygon, Circumscribe Polygon, click here, make the thing. You're going to make it so it's going to, ultimately, those left and right points are going to be on those construction lines, but they're not right now. So this is, what did it say? It's an 8 mm hexagon. So the radius of it has to be 4 mm. So that you got that. So now you put it there, go horizontal, vertical to get it snapped in, and then press escape, and then D for dimension, and click on those two vertices, and you're going to make them 8. And it's really important that it is 8 mm wide from left vertex to right vertex. And then we want to do a circle in the center of this, right? And you probably want to zoom in a little bit more and type C for circle. And you're going to make that a 4 mm circle. So basically that's your hex nut and your bolt. Click the circle you just drew and E for extrude. And then you see where it says distance? Create all. And then we're going to cut instead of join. And then, wow. I'm trying to think why that is. Oops. Why the OK button is not going. I'm obviously doing something wrong, like I have drawn the sketch on the wrong side. So one of the things that's very helpful sometimes is, yeah, I'm a little confused, to be quite honest. Oh. See what this is? This is it doesn't look like the geometry is exactly lined up. Like I've screwed up something in the geometry. This is why I wanted it. The whole reason I wanted to show you stuff. Oops. Yeah. Yeah, that geometry looks right. So I'm very confused. Press escape. Press escape. Let's go back to the whole thing here. So I'm going to go select that, E for extrude, okay, and we're going to go distance is all. We're going to pull down that way, and then I have no idea why it would. I guess it's because I didn't get it started that it didn't know what to do. Remember I said all is extent. The reason why this is cool is, right there it is a flat bottom, right? But let's say that was curved. This would know to go the distance to cut the full distance. And I'm going to click on orbit just to show you. See, it went all the way. And then I still don't know why that's not doing it, to be quite honest. And there it is. Click OK. It was just that I was in orbit mode. It wouldn't let me click the button in orbit mode. So I think what we're going to do is we did the circle and press the E. So set to all, and we did cut and OK. Now we want to expand the sketched node under browser at left, right? So let's zoom in here. Sketches, not sketched. Sorry for that. And we're going to turn the sketch we were working on back. You notice as soon as we did the cut, it turned it off. So now we're going to go back to orbit, and we're going to make it so that we can see this face. Okay, and then press escape so we get back to select mode. So click inside the hexagon, but not in the hole. So we're now going to do this part. Oops. There you go. I scrolled in, and then I'm going to go E, and I want to do this 3 millimeters in. It is going to cut. Oops. Hold on a second. I'm going to do this. I think what's happening is because of the way I have it, it's just, I have to get it started. So I'm clicking to select, go E. Uh, that looks weird because of the angle that I'm at. And I'm going to pull this, press escape so I can get my handle on it, and I'm going to go down. And that's -3 millimeters, which is what I wanted to do for cut. And then boom, I now have a hole and a hexagon around it. So we're getting there. I'm going to go back to home. Yeah, oops, go back to home. Let me press escape because I'm not getting to hit the cursor correctly. So, and then I want to draw, so that was the hex bolt. And now I want to hover over the hexagon sketch you just drew, then right click and edit sketch. So firstly, see, I'm on the front face right now. I mean, I'm on the top face, excuse me, whereas the sketch is on the bottom. So I need to get down there and then move over here. And then I want to go back to sketch, and I'm going to edit that sketch. And I flipped it over for some reason, which is very annoying. But I am going to go back to over here. And I'm going to put a hole here. So I think this dimension, I'm going to bring it down over here just so it's out of the way. Okay, hover the blah, blah, blah. I got into the sketch. Place a point on the vertical construction line 15 millimeters from the top vertex of the outer hexagon. So let me drag that in place. I'm going to go to sketch. And I'm going to pick a point, put it here. And then I'm going to escape and then D for dimension. Click that vertex, this one. Click down and go 15. Right? This one should be simple. Press C, and then I'm doing a 6 millimeter. C for circle. Center on it. 6 millimeter. Type 6. Press enter. And then I want to press pull. So I'm going to select E. Now I have the selected profile. And I am going to, the operation is cut. And oops. I don't know why that was suddenly not selected. And then I'm going to go, instead of distance, I'm going to go all. And I get very confused why, all, why that isn't. It's like, it really wants me to do these things sort of like in a profile-y sort of way. And so I just did 20 millimeter. I'm going to go back to the bottom. I'm still learning some of the detailing around this, but just in 20 millimeter, go. I don't know why it is not happy. So maybe it needs to be -20 mil. There it is. From that side, it was going up. Since this is the bottom plane over here, I got it. Okay, so not so bad. Okay, and I'm going to turn off the second sketch here. We don't need the sketch any longer. And so I stop sketch, and I am now I extruded the simple hole, and then I want to copy the bolt and simple hole. So what I want to do now is create a circular pattern of this. So I'm going to go in this mode, right? And but I want to be on the bottom because the bottom has the full complex thing. And I'm going to go like that so I can see a little bit of the thing. And then I'm going to go create pattern, circular pattern. So I'm going to select that, select that, select that. Then I have to select all of these faces. So I'll want to, jink it around, press escape once I'm out of orbit. Okay, so I have 9 faces selected, which is exactly what I want to do. And then the axis is going to be along the z-axis, and it's 3. Press enter, and this sucker is done, right? I just have to click Save Model. So, and then every time you do a save, you have a chance of doing a version description so that you can see every save. You could look at them and find out things, not just that you saved it on a particular day, but what you meant. So I called user saved because I didn't really care. So there's our model, and again, the complex stuff is at the bottom. This little thing, this turned out to be relatively complex, but the sucker is done. So anyway, this is great, and looking forward to working with you guys tomorrow. This took 45 minutes for me to do and explain. Hopefully, this will take you the same hour to 45 minutes to watch, and then an hour to do. I don't think it's that complex. Okay, catch you tomorrow.